Welcome, everybody, to Sally Speaks Mindset Podcast. I am Sally, your host, and my podcast is really designed to help inspire, motivate, and educate you so that you can see the possibilities. I really work with a lot of amazing women in this podcast who have walked in the shoes that you're probably wanting to walk in, or you can at least grab something that's so exciting that you can implement into your life or your business. And today it's going to be absolutely incredible. Look at the smile on Diane's face. Diane and I met recently, but there was an instant connection. And Diane turns out that she used to be a critical care nurse. She's also an educator, and she's a self-published author of two books so far. And I know that there's more that she's waiting and dying to be able to release because she's just got a wealth of knowledge. But what I really loved about Diane was where her heart is, how heart-centered she is in as being a humanitarian, a philanthropist, and an advocate, a huge advocate for women and children. She and her husband, Charles, have a Love Drops podcast. You're going to want to check that one out. So write that down, Love Drops podcast, and we'll have that listed in all of the blurb that goes with this. But to me, it was really about the energy that she brings to really want to continue to serve and brighten the world. So I'll let you tell a little bit more about yourself, Diane, and then we'll get started into our questioning today and our conversation.
Awesome. So it's so wonderful to be here with you today, Sally. I am so excited, woke up just ready to just jump in and just be a part of Sally Speaks. So I am here with excitement and joy. And so let's see more about me. I think you can wrap it up in just this phrase. I am all about just being the change in action, being the change that is needed in this world. I am not about having long, drawn out conversations. I want to know what we can do, solution based. So if there's someone hungry, I really don't need to know your backstory and how you got to that place. How can I serve you? What would you like to eat? Can I cook it for you? Can I buy it for you? Can we sit and have a meal together? How can we build? And how can I help you to, connect with the right people to get you realigned and back on track? Global networking is what it's all about. And just one love. I mean, that sums it up for me. Just one love. There's so many titles. There's so many things that I could, say about me, but not necessary. I prefer my actions speak for who I am. And that's how I look at other people. So you can have 1,000 letters behind your name and be a trillionaire, but if you're just not doing anything for others, glad to meet you, but I need that energy that's going to feed into, let's make the change. Let's build together.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And when I first met you, I could feel that with both you and Charles, as far as what you're wanting to bring to the world. And it is about service to others, and it's about being that light in the world. And I think one of the most beautiful things I've recognized recently is that it is a very small world. And because of social media, it allows us to be able to connect worldwide with people and be able to really make an impact much faster than we could have in the past, because we weren't able to connect as easily. So I really love that you have that world focus, because I think there's so much that we have all to contribute to each other globally to be able to make a difference in what we're driving forward. So I really love that that's where your focus is, and that obviously service to others, which I know is where both you and your husband come from in wanting to work with other people. So now, what does living clearly really mean to you? Because we're talking about living clearly, living with that focus on what we want to really be able to bring. Like, it was very clear exactly what you want to bring to the world, but what does that really mean to you?
Very good question. So living clearly, and I always put ready at the end of it because that's the title of my first book, is Clearly Ready. So
Okay.
for me, living clearly ready is living a bigger life than yourself. It's living outside of yourself. It's living a surrendered life. It's living, allowing life to happen, knowing that you don't have control of all the blows and throws that life is going to bring to you. I quote Charles here. He says, you don't have control of the waves, but you can adjust your sail. And
Okay.
that for me is clearly ready. That is going inside and changing the narrative yourself. So I have found myself in spaces and places that were a little heavy, somewhat dark, but I knew that I was supposed to be there. I didn't want to be there. If it was up to me, I'd take the door, right?
Yeah.
But being clearly ready is going and depositing love and light, depositing, just service in places that maybe you don't even want to be, but it's needed. That's where you need to be. So being clearly ready is allowing the flow to feel what you feel, including the pain.
Yes.
Because so many times, Sally, we feel pain and we want to numb it. We want to medicate it. We want to escape from it. We want to just get it out of our lives. But when you live clearly ready, you know that in each pain contraction that you feel, there's a lesson and a blessing. And sometimes to get from where you are to where you want to be, pain is the vehicle that takes you there. So you have to just allow for it. So yeah, clearly ready.
What came to my mind right away was childbirth, because it's filled with a lot of pain.
Oh yeah.
In my case it was. And yet what's the beauty that comes out after we've gone through that pain? So it's part of that process, right? Of accepting the pain and then understanding why it's showing up, but then what's the beauty that shows up after that? And how can we create that and accept that there is always going to be what I call speed bumps along the path, but those speed bumps teach us, train us, and take us to another level. So it's that growth that we experience from having gone through that that's allowing us to develop to a better human being, to be able to serve more people and to create a better world. And so I think so many people get hung up by that. I'll call it a speed bump. You could call it, but they get hung up by that speed bump, taking them off of the path that they thought was just going to be smooth. But in my experience, every time I've come up against a roadblock and I've pushed through to the other side, everything has opened up for me that I was expecting and more. And it becomes so much clearer. It becomes so much more full of joy. And it just brings me so much more people, opportunities. Everything just opens up once you cross through that boundary. So I love how you're talking about that and what it really means to you. So now, how are you getting this message out to the world? What's your vehicles that you're using?
That's a great question, Sally. So I am getting it out to the world, number one, through my book. I published a book, Clearly Ready, See Yourself in Your Next Season. So that is one way. And even before the book was published, I would just take every opportunity that was allowed to me to encourage people to take the leaps, to come out of your comfort zone, to just allow yourself to grow and expand. As a critical care nurse, I would do the message by mentoring. I was a preceptor. I was a nurse educator. I became a college professor because when I got started into nursing way back in the dinosaur days, but definitely way back before pandemic and all, the nurses that were before me, they had this practice of eating their young. They had this practice of making you go through this really rigid and uncomfortable, unnecessary what would you say, initiation, right? And
Mhm.
so that was the first thing that I decided when I became a nurse. I said, I am going to change this narrative. I said,
Yeah.
when I become registered, I am going to give back right. I'm going to do it the way that I feel is the right way to bring out
Yeah.
the best and not scare the living daylights, right? Out of,
Mhm.
the nurses coming behind me. So I started it even in nursing school. I started with the students that were behind me. I was a kind of late bloomer. I was in my late 20s with a family when I became a nurse.
Mhm.
So, a little bit of a late bloomer, kind of the oldest
Yeah.
person in the class, right? And so just giving back through mentorship, just giving back
Mhm.
through
Good.
um,
Yeah.
using my errors and mistakes to help build, others. And as a result of being clearly ready like that, I still have awesome relationships with my students,
Nice.
co-workers, and I've been out of it for more than like nearly 10 years now.
Mhm.
So that's a way. Also, we have a podcast, as you mentioned, Love Drops
Yeah.
Podcast. So we're able to give the message there, um, mentoring, and with all of the different nonprofit organizations,
Mm.
uh, speaking, mentoring, coaching, did a literacy group with a group of women out of Nashville, Tennessee, when my book first came out, and we did a book club. And so
Oh.
um, provided books for all of the women. And every month we would meet and take lessons from the book and just put them into life application with
Mm.
the underlying, I guess, theme of coming out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Coming out, stepping out of your comfort zone. And when I tell you, Sally, every single last one of those women did something out of their comfort zone by the time our time was over, and they're
Wow.
soaring now. So
Nice.
that's just like recycling, clearly ready.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think part of that is just breathing possibility into people, right?
Yes.
So what I kind of came to mind for me just now is like you're just breathing possibility. You're breathing that it's okay to have to go along a path, have a little fall, and then be able to pick up, but also to be mentoring other people and let them know it's okay. This is part of life. This is what happens in life, and you will always encounter things, but let's talk about how to actually manage through it so that
Yes.
it doesn't completely make you fall down and go into depression and all of those types of things, because it's our mind that's going to help us to be able to draw out of that, and our experiences with people like yourself that are going to allow us to see, oh my gosh, I don't have to stay where I am. I have an opportunity to, like you said, you have butterfly earrings on, so I'm going to bring them up, but be like a butterfly and spread your wings and fly. Right. And every time that you come out of that cocoon, it's going to be better. It's going to be bigger. And you're breathing that life into other people.
Yes.
And that's what I'm hearing from you. And I can just tell by how passionate you are when you're speaking that this is what makes you tick. You came
Oh, yeah.
into nursing, you saw people, having certain attitudes, and you wanted to change that. And then you helped mentor new people to give them the opportunity to see how much they were giving back and to recognize their skill set and the love that they had for the profession, because people don't go into nursing just because they think it's a good job.
Right.
They
Right.
go because of their heart. They
Mm-hmm.
want to make a
Mm-hmm.
difference. They want to help people, heal people. They want to care for people. And so,
Yes.
I'm associated with a lot of nurses, not only my family, but in friendships. And they've all come from that place, and they still do, regardless of whether they're still in nursing or not. And I love that story that you told about your books, and how you're able to help people from a literacy perspective to see differently. And
Yes.
all of those little pieces, those little touches are memorable
Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
you've taken the time to spend some time with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, you're getting me right now. And that's,
But
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. No, I was going to say, but Sally, it's all recyclable.
Yes.
So as you put it out, it also comes back
Mhm.
into you.
Mhm.
So as you give, as you uh what would you say, as you sow,
Mhm.
you're going to reap. Sometimes not from the same field. Sometimes you reap far later in the future. Sometimes you reap ahead of time. But you reap what you sow. And I've been so fortunate to have phenomenal women, men, organizations just pour into me, just power me up to be able to go out there and do what I do. It's not a one thing. I have a saying, there is no us without you. And that just downloaded into me a couple of years ago. And so I use it. And it's literal, because if you write out the word us, US, then you put that statement with it, there is no us. And so I just apply that to Charles and I, and just, the world in general, without you, because you make a difference.
Yes. Awesome. I love that. I love that a
Yeah.
lot. So now, what are some of the challenges and lessons that you encountered on your journey through this whole process, from, your corporate career to starting your businesses, writing your books, being able to make an impact in the world? So what are some of those challenges or lessons that you might have encountered?
Okay, I'm going to list three. The first is changing the narrative here, changing the narrative here, because you are sometimes your biggest Achilles heel. Yes. Before you even get started, you're like, but yeah, it's a great idea. And then you just start thinking about all of the reasons why you can't. So you have to switch that. You can kind of flow through it, but you have to put but I can. So for everything that you tell yourself that you can, then you tell yourself that you can. And you practice just being vulnerable to the situation. You practice sometimes even failure, like, oops, I fell. Let me get back up. How can I do this differently? And you just keep pushing, but you start with your self-talk. Yes. The second thing is you stop trying to explain your mission, your purpose, what you're doing to everyone, because I promise you, you will get the wind knocked out of your sail more than not. Oh, that's a great idea, but how are you going to do this? I think, this is not the right time to do this. Or you're going to go there. Oh, it's so expensive. Oh, and just all of this chatter, right? So in my book, Clearly Ready, every story starts with a quote. So there's a story in there that says, stop explaining. And in that story, I use a quote, and I'm just going to kind of say it creative. It might not be exact, but people can only understand from their perspective. So they can only understand you, the world, and all from their perspective. So it's not up to us to try to make anyone understand. When they are clearly ready, they'll understand. Yeah. So once you get that, then you stop the validation game, just trying to be validated in what you're doing, right? And the third thing is, in service, in giving, you're not there to fix it. Yes. You're not there to fix it. And that was a big one for me, because I kind of just always wanted to make it better, from being a nurse, from being a mom, just from being Diane. I want to make it better. But when you can get to a place where you're comfortable with saying, what is my assignment in this particular scenario? Yeah. You stick to your assignment, you stay focused to your assignment. And even when it's time for you to leave, when your assignment is over and you have that feeling like, but I think I could do more. I should do more. Maybe I should stay longer. Maybe I should. That's when things start going to the left. That's when something beautiful, like you plant a beautiful seed and then you stay in it, you start digging it up. So it can't bloom because you dug it back up. Yeah. So you have to just be able to breathe in love and just walk away. And that's not always easy.
Mhm.
That's not always easy. And that's been one of my greatest challenges, because I feel like a lot of times I leave things unfinished,
Mm.
but I realize that that's the way that it's supposed to be, because as I've looked back, I see how other people have stepped into that space that once I moved out of the
Mhm.
way, and then they helped to bloom the situation, and it just got so much better. And it's like, yay. And that makes you more equipped
Yes.
to not try to fix things
Yeah.
and, just to walk away,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's a number of key points that you made within there. And one of them, I think, is also, not expecting other people to validate you. Because when we have something that's outside of the norm that we choose to do, that people don't see as the traditional path. So as an example, you leaving nursing and going into a more of a service-based business and an author, and people will start to question, why have you done that? But yet we feel we have to validate it to others. And oftentimes it's like, don't worry about what the others think. This is your life. You get to choose how you live it. And so much in our society is trying to get validation for what we're doing. So I really love that you brought that piece up, because I think I see that very much so. And especially through all the different social media channels that we're all trying to be validating who we are and what we've chosen to do in our life, as opposed to just embracing it and showing up how we choose to show up, and the right people will be attracted to us, because that's the key, right? That really is the key.
That is the key. And I love that last part. If you would just release it to the flow and just go and live in your authentic truth, right? The right people will definitely start coming into alignment with you.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I found, Sally, as with a butterfly, how you chase the butterfly, and it just keeps eluding you, right?
Yes.
Charles and I had a chance to go to a butterfly world in Arizona, maybe 5-6 years ago. And we just sat on the bench and butterflies were just landing on us. Charles had like 3 or 4 butterflies on him at one time. And people were in the garden, especially children, just running around and chasing them. And so they come up to us and say, well, how are you getting those butterflies to land on you? And we said, because we're not chasing them. We're just sitting here and they're coming. And so that's what I see when we're trying to get the right people. Because with my first book, I was just really pushing it hard, going hard pain, and just, oh my God, just really go. And it's, how they say, work smarter and not harder.
Yes.
I was definitely working harder to a point of almost frustration, because when you're just grinding so much and not in that balance and flow, it's gonna, you're gonna get frustrated, because you're gonna start looking at results instead of impact.
Yes.
And you're gonna be like, well, I should be doing better, or but when you get to a point where you say, you know what? This message was downloaded to me, and there is an audience that need to have this message. And instead of just chasing down people and, passing the book and, getting them I'm going to allow it to organically just be. And it works so much better.
And I think, once we actually own our own mindset, our own desire for what we have inside of us, like you said, the downloads, what are the ideas that are coming to you? What are the messages that are coming to you? And you follow that guidance, then you will have success no matter what you do, because you are showing up in that energy. And that to me is the most critical piece that I think, I love it, because there's a lot more focus on it today than there was even 5-10 years ago, of really being able to understand how that energy feels and what it does for us, and just allowing, as opposed to, like you said, that chase, or that, trying to figure out how to make it all work, and trying, I call it like throwing spaghetti at the wall. You'll go on every course that there is, or you'll check out everything because you're trying to find that magic piece, but really the magic is within, because you
Yeah.
have the ability to just show up, like you said, as you're doing authentically with the audience today, and just show that you have this love and this joy and this power within you to be able to share with others, and people are naturally attracted to that. And that is where the difference starts to be happening, and that ripple effect starts to flow out through many, many, many different people. So love what you're saying with that regard. So beautiful.
I like what you said about the ripple effect, and I always refer to it as the butterfly effect. You know how when a butterfly flutters its wings,
Yes.
it's felt all the way around the world. And the fact that you and I are having this conversation right now is a result, is a clear example of that, because you're in Canada, I'm in Georgia, and and we'll have listeners all around the world to be able to just come and feel and listen to this conversation. So yeah, that is definitely a butterfly effect.
Exactly. So now I see your book behind you, but I know you have more than one book on the go. So what information or advice do you have for people that are considering becoming an author, or have something deep inside of them, a manuscript that they really want to get onto the shelves? What would you say is your advice from that perspective?
So the best advice that I can give is advice that I have received from a published author of like more than 20 books, out there, and some bestsellers. And that advice is 2 words: just write. Just write. Just write. Let it come out. Sometimes you have to do things to get you in that flow of writing. So it can be, you can start off journaling. You can do a blog post, which is something I did before, just starting my manuscripts. You can get to a place where you are consistently making time to just write. Even if you start out with 15 minutes a day where you're just writing, just sitting and just writing. That 15 minutes turns into 30 minutes, turn into an hour. You dedicate, you say, okay, I'm going to write for 1 hour, 2 hours. When you get into that flow, sometimes you get to that 2 hours and you stop. Sometimes you might write for 4 or 5 hours because it's just coming, it's just flowing, and you're just writing. And when you start out writing, take editing and put it on the shelf, because you always want to go back. Well, let me fix that. There's going to be plenty of time to edit. It is better. Like, I look at it as a potter with clay, right? And you have a big clump of clay, and it looks like just a big glob, right? And you start spinning it, right? And as you're spinning it, you start chipping off and making it into something beautiful, into a beautiful piece of art, right? Well, I figured the writing part is getting that glob together. So just write. It doesn't matter. The more, the better, because it gives you more to shape with. And then when you are done, then you kind of start going back and editing. I would suggest, though, once you write, walk away from it for a day, a week, or whatever. Just walk away from it for a minute to let the process just take, just breathe, process. And then when you go back to it, now you're bringing a refreshed creative perspective. And then you can start, your editing process. Then, publish it, have some people that are close to you that are readers, not people that want to change your story. This is so important. When you have a story, that is your story. So you don't want to put your story in the hands of people that want to put your masterpiece back on the potter's wheel and start chipping it. So you've created a beautiful vase, and someone say, well, yeah, this is a beautiful vase, but it looks so much better as a bowl. So I'm gonna, chip your, no. your story is your vase. So you keep it that. So you want people that are editing that are just kind of looking at it and just making sure that, things are level and, you can see your design from all sides. They're not trying to change your story. They're just trying to say, yes, I can see that this is a vase and it's a beautiful vase. And, you've done a great job with this vase. I'm not trying to make it anything other than a vase. Stay true to your story. Your story is yours. And just know that if you have a story inside, that in this world somewhere, there are readers waiting for that story to be written.
Yes, there are.
There are readers waiting for that story to be written. So that is my advice. Even all of that said, if you get nothing else, just write. And if you just write, your story will take you exactly where you need to go. The downloads, the inspiration.
It's gotta be the downloads, because that's
yes,
for me.
will start coming. With Clearly Ready, I took 40 days, got up at 4:00 every morning, and I wrote the story. And then, the editing, the manuscript, and just putting it together, but that's where my lump of clay came from. Just writing. And then with Aftercare, it was different. With Aftercare, the story pretty much poured out in 7 days. The story just boom, poured out in 7 days.
Wow.
That wasn't the manuscript, but that was the story. Like, this is how you're going to do. And then I went back and just started just writing. Clearly Ready was both of them were inspirational, but Clearly Ready was just more of a collection of life stories. And Aftercare was more of a life event, of a traumatic life event that had to be shared and told with the world. It was something that my husband and I went through. And so it needed to be shared. Now with Aftercare, the story was so raw. The story was so emotional. It was just an emotional roller coaster with that story that it took me 2 years to get to the place where I could sit down and write it from a space of love, of inspiration, of peace, a space of who I am. If I would have wrote it right after it happened, it would have been an angry book. It would have been a very angry, because it was just a lot of emotions and feelings and frustrations and things like that. And I say that, Sally, because I want listeners to know that even though my outlook on life is positive, light, love, but in that there is anger, there is frustration, there is sadness, there is heaviness, and it's just about feeling and releasing those emotions and not spreading them. That's not really what needs to be spreaded,
Yeah, but I think it's also as you're talking about, it's a very good release just to get it out, get it on paper, or get it, I know when I was writing my book, I was co-authoring with a friend of mine, and I was down in Aruba for the holidays because my husband had been working around there. She was up in Canada, and we just decided to voice a whole bunch of stuff, like voice our stories. And then we could get the transcript printed out, and then it allowed me to help to bring all the ideas together. But sometimes, it's okay just to sit down and talk about what's coming to you as well, because it flows easily to talk about it. So that was a technique that we used for part of the book, and it turned out really well because of that. Because there was 2 of us authoring together too. You got different opinions and different ideas. So to be able to bring it together, it seemed to be a lot easier for me to be able to pull that together from that perspective. But I love the tips that you're giving. And I love also that, with the book, the second book that you've written, that, when you did it, there was just a big release, and then you gave it time to settle, to be able to come back to it with a different perspective. And, without as much emotion attached to it. And that's important. And even from journaling, It's extremely important if you're journaling something like that to just get it on that paper, but don't spend a lot of energy on it. It's just getting
Right.
it out of your system so that you can move
Yeah.
on and clear it later on or clear it that day. So I love that you're saying that that's what you did with your book as well, because it's such an important message for life in general.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
beautiful. So
Yes.
now, do you have any inspirational stories that you wanted to share with us?
I
From
do, and I
your
have
book?
one for the book, and I want to just segue into it very, very quickly. When you said Aruba, bell started ringing. OMG, that is my happy place.
Oh,
Charles
is
and I have been
it?
there 3 times so far for a total of 45 days
Wow.
on the island, not on a cruise. My happy place. And actually, when you go back to Clearly Ready, on the beach of Aruba is where I wrote my letter of resignation from nursing.
Oh,
It was the
wow.
last time we were in Aruba. I was on the beach, watching the sunrise and just allowing things to flow. And that letter of resignation, I was journaling. And then next thing you know, I was writing my letter of resignation, which is a work of art. I wish I still had it because it was just, and I wrote it from that happy place. So it's really good when you take those leaps or things in life and you do it from a happy place because it gives you confidence, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yes. So what I wanted to share, just out of the book, Clearly Ready is a collection of short inspirational stories.
Mhm.
So there was a book, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yes.
So I like to refer to Clearly Ready as chicken gumbo for inspiration, right? Just a
I
chicken
love it.
gumbo of inspiration, just taken from my life. And so the very last story in the book was Finish Well. Finish well. So what I'd like to share with your readers is whatever it is that you are wrapping up right now in life, because we're always wrapping up something. Sometimes it's just the day. You're wrapping up the day. You might be
Yeah.
wrapping up a career. You might be wrapping up a marriage, relationship, whatever it is that you are wrapping up. Finish well.
Yeah.
When we go into something, especially something that we're really excited about, something we really love, something that we're really hyped over, right? There's this sense of excitement and joy. And
Yeah.
sometimes after a time, that kind of fizzles out, right? But regardless, how you finish is going to be remembered even over how you started. So what I'd like to say is whatever it is that you're wrapping up, even if it's something that you really don't want to wrap up, it's like, I love this, I don't want to leave this, is how I felt a little bit about nurse education. I was at the height of my nursing career as a professor, right? And excited about the oncoming semester, the fall semester, and just got that download that it's time to take the leap out of that into something else. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't all that excited about it, but it was how you finished. So it's just like, I finished well. You want to be remembered as someone that brought light into a situation. You want to, and it's better to finish on top. And that's how I felt that situation went. I was at the top of it when I took the lead. And so finish well. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're wrapping up, finish well. And I'll tell you this, if you finish in love, it's always going to be all right.
Yeah, and that's a big fear. The big fear for people is how am I going to be if something like that happens, right? Or I fall out of love, or whatever the circumstance might be. What's that next phase going to look like? And yeah, so it'll all be okay. I agree.
It'll all be
Absolutely.
okay. And if it's not okay, then it's not over.
Exactly.
Yes, yes, yes. I think, Sally, I'd like to, two things I want to say. One is my mom. Hi, Mom. I know she's watching
Aw,
because
I
she's
love
really
it.
excited about it. So, hi, Mom. She gave me this phrase that stuck with me and has just helped me and has been like one of my go-to mantras. And it is, if it doesn't kill you, it will make you stronger.
Mhm.
And I believe that. I believe that. So no matter the pain, no matter the intensity, no matter what's going on, if I'm still breathing on the other side, I believe I'm gonna be stronger. I'm gonna be stronger. So I feel like we're wrapping this up. And anytime I go into a room, or just have a platform, I always like to pass back, give a
Mhm.
shout out. Even on our website, we have a
Yeah.
page called networking where we shout out amazing people and things. So, as I'm closing, I want to just send love and send a shout out to 5 amazing women who have
Okay.
helped to shape me into the amazing woman that I am. And of course, I've already shouted out my mom. That's my number one
Yes.
fan. But the first one is Dr. LaShaunda P. Massey from Memphis, Tennessee. I just want to send some love to her. Dr. Eleanor Hooks from Charlotte, North Carolina. Dr. Shalonda Atkins from South Carolina. I believe she's in Goose Creek, maybe South Carolina.
Mhm.
Becky Crowell, Charleston, South Carolina, and Karen Burams from Pasadena, California. These are women that are closely around me. They're closely knit, and
Mhm.
they inspire me. There's so many
Nice.
other women, but I wouldn't even have time to name them all. But these are just phenomenal women. And I just want to share my space with my sisters because, it takes a village.
Mhm. If you
Yeah.
would be so kind as to just send me those names, and if they're
Yes.
okay with me putting that up on the
Oh,
podcast, I'd
yes.
put that in there so people can find them and
Yes.
maybe just connect and have a conversation or follow whatever they like to do. But I love
Yes.
that because, as a community of women and supporting each other today, I think we do have so many amazing people that we're surrounded by. And obviously your mom is the one that is still here
Yes.
locally for you.
Yes,
I
she
don't
is.
have my moms and mother-in-laws anymore, but they're definitely here with me every day and sending me signs. I know that for sure. But
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
there's so many incredible women out there, and I love that you're, offering that support and encouragement to other people that we are a community. We're not
Yeah.
alone. We're a community, and we have so much opportunity to give back to others in everything that we get to do. So I really appreciate that today. So now how can people find you? We'll put that up later, but some people just like to listen. So how can people find
Ah,
you, Diane?
so the first place I would say is our website, and that is PATHS, PATHS, the number 2, transformation.com. And everything is pretty linked there. The podcast is there. I also have a Clearly Ready YouTube channel that finds me in my happy place by the water, just giving out little gold nuggets about taking leaps and encouraging people to take the leaps. And that's all connected to the website. So Paths to Transformation will take you there. I'm also on LinkedIn as Diane Woodford. And those are my only 2 places because, Sally, I found that word of mouth is the best connector and also the most authentic connector because there's no algorithm with word of mouth. There's only heart and truth there. So, yeah.
Love that. I love that. We got to write that one down. Write that down right now. That's what your next book should be called.
It's
I
funny
love
you say that. I do have another book that I am in labor with, and that one is actually about my dad. My father is no longer here, but we had a phenomenal last weekend in his life, and I'm going to do a book about that. And I think it's going to be pretty inspiring
Mm.
for daughter-father relationships. And I'm actually doing it to leave a legacy for my granddaughters. I don't think I said that, and you did give me the space. I am a mom. I am a nana. I'm a wife. And I have friends all around the globe, including you, Sally.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's what I just love about how everything is happening these days, is that we have the opportunity to touch everybody in the world. And they will find us because they're
Yeah.
drawn to us. And it's just so exciting to be able to have an opportunity to speak with people just like you, Diane, that are so inspirational, so focused on really giving back to community and to making a difference in this beautiful world that we have an opportunity to live in. And I love your butterfly earrings. And so as
Thank you.
butterflies, we get to fly, we get to land, we're so soft, we're so gentle, but yet we bring so much
This
joy.
didn't show, but this goes with it. It's my little pendant
Oh,
necklace
okay.
here. And it didn't, I was hoping that I would be back enough for it
Oh,
to
okay.
show, but it did not show.
Aw. Well, now we showed it, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. But yeah, I mean, there's so much beautiful, there's so many beautiful opportunities in the world today to connect. And I think, you know, it's an overall message, connection is key. Understanding that because we run up against a circumstance does not mean we need to stop growing, does not mean to say that there's nothing great on the other side of that bump in the road. And that Diane has been able to tap into some beautiful energy, get some amazing downloads, and is offering so much inspiration and support to others in a different way than what she had done in her full-time career, which was just as impactful. But now she gets to really live from a place of joy and purpose, and surrounding herself with amazing people that she gets to inspire and be inspired back. So I really, really appreciate your time today, Diane. And thank you so, so much for joining us here on Sally Speaks podcast, because this has just been an incredible way to start my day. We started at 7:30 a.m. my time, and I love having my day start in this way because it just fills my cup. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Sally. Thank you for having me. It's been a joy. It's been a joy.
You're so sweet. Have a fabulous week, everybody.